Good evening, everyone. This is Regina Gibbons, and we are here again for our Monday Parent Power series. I've been saying it so much that I get my own self tongue tied. As always, if you are with us in Facebook world, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, please put them in the chat. We will make sure that we are monitoring them. The same goes for LinkedIn. You know, April has been the month of our financially lit series where we're living in transparency. Our first week, we talked about were you assured and insured. And then our second week, we talked about make it, don't fake it. Third week, we talked about improving our financial dignity. And today, we are going to round up our series where we're going to cure our credit. I have with me today Miss Corinne Hamilton. It will be a pleasure and an honor to hear what she has to say. So, if I were you, I would get my paper, my pencil, my notepad, my crayon, my marker, whatever you need to do to take notes, but make sure that you are taking notes. As always, I'll have her introduce herself, and once that's done, then we'll jump right in. How are you
Hey,
this
I'm
evening?
doing quite well. I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for the invite. I love educating on credit or just anything that I can pour out that's been poured into me. You can have it. Um,
Awesome.
I'm Corinne Hamilton with Cure My Credit Scores, and we service the entire country, but we're based here out of Silver Spring, and we support folks, mostly homeowners, with purchasing houses, but anybody who needs their credit supported or wants business credit. That's a whole nother jam. We could talk about it another time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we're going to just jump right in. So, we're talking about curing my credit. And, you know, I know we're adults and we hear credit is important, but like, how are credit scores even calculated? Let's start simple.
Good point. So credit in general, your credit score is a representation of how you showed up in the past and the likelihood of how you will show up in the future. So better credit score says, hey, I've been doing all right. And a lower credit score says, I've been struggling a little bit, or I just started, I don't really know what I'm doing. So in general, the five basics of a FICO score, we're going to talk about that because that's what most people are using for the things that they want, is a Fair Isaac Corporation score. And that's the FICO. That's on My Score IQ, that's on My FICO, it's on a couple of other apps. And what you want to do is just check the small print. So 35% of your credit is your payment history. So most people think it's your inquiries. No, you need to pay on time. So having a late payment could cost you 125, 75 points, and that's hard to recover from. So you really want to do auto pay and keep it on auto pay as much as possible. Now, if you've got, say, $1,000 credit card, the next area of impact for 30% is your utilization. And you want to keep that between 1 and 10%. All right. So a lot of things will say 30%, but that is the game for, like, I already got good credit, I'm just trying to keep it up. You can do 30. You got time. You got 750 and you want to do 30, fine. But if you're trying to rebuild or build from scratch or establish credit or rejuvenate your credit from the depths, they're under, you're going to want to go ahead and keep it between 1 and 10%. And that'll get you there more quickly. Okay. And I did say 1. So we're not even keeping it, at 0, because you're trying to, this is not the debt relief game. This is the credit game. Right. And so you got to be utilizing credit to improve your credit when you're reestablishing it when it's new. And a lot of people, I paid everything off. That's not a good look for credit. When we get to debt elimination or building wealth or investments, that's a whole different strategy.
Okay.
Right. So then there's the next piece in the pie is the 15% that is your length of history. So I was saying, when you've had credit for a while, you can do some different things. But if you're reestablishing and that credit is under 7 years, it's gonna not be as beneficial. But when it gets to 7 years and you've been doing great things for like 7, 10, 15 years, that's when you're gonna see it, shine a little bit, like you know what you're doing. And that's when you can also start paying those balances off to zero, because they're like, oh, you got it. You know how to manage it and you're actually utilizing it. So with that in mind, just don't be closing everything. People get annoyed and they start shutting stuff down and they start closing it out. The interest rates are too high. Da, 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 da. You don't want to let go of that 10-year card that you have just because you don't like it. You want to keep your inquiries low. That's the next 10%. And low means like one, maybe every 6 months, if not just the year. Be really considerate of, like, do I need this or don't I? Because that inquiry, it's not really the inquiry, it's the new account that's going to affect your credit and bring it down. The inquiry is 3 to 5 points. You just added a new car, a new credit card, another new credit card, and a loan. That's what those accounts are going to start bringing you down. And lastly is the diversity of your credit. I hear so many clients say, well, I have a car and I've been paying it on time and my credit should be going through the roof. And I'm like, no, you need to juggle. You need to show that you can address different types of credit and be responsible with installments, which is like a home loan, a student loan, or a car loan. You should have at least one of those. And then a charge card or a department store card, like a Home Depot or Sephora's. I always tell clients, get one you don't like. Don't go get no Target card and be trying to control yourself. Okay, let's be realistic. Get an Ace Hardware or something. And then at least 2 major credit cards, like a MasterCard, Visa, or American Express. So that's your pie, and that's how credit is calculated for the most part in the FICO realm.
Awesome. Thank you. And so then you started talking about like the whole rebuilding of the credit. So how does that even look? Like someone has, a divorce, some tragedy has happened. And so now they are back at square zero.
Mm-hmm.
Where did they start?
With grace.
Okay. Okay.
They definitely start with grace. You just need to be super grateful and you need to fix your attitude because I'm gonna get to the tactical, but just dealing with so many people, that's the part that's defeating. I can't. It's the worst. La la la. Now look at credit all day. Our whole team does, and they'll come here with this, and I'll look. That's not even that bad. Right. But you don't know that in perspective to somebody else. So just come with a little grace for yourself that you're making a decision to do something different. Life happened. I'll tell you about me. I had a 6-figure job and all the 6-figure things, and I lost my contract, and my credit went from like a 760 to a 580. And I was hard on myself as well. And then when I did the program that we have while I was working here. And 6 months later, my credit was at like a 680. And then 3 months after that, it was at a 720. And I was like, why were you so dramatic? You did not need to do all of that, so the attitude is most of that part. But for people who are starting from scratch, I would get some feedback first, because a lot of people are trying to just get cards 5 at a time. They think that they need secured cards. You don't always. So some tips I would give is go find like a site that's prepaid. I'm sorry, not prepaid, pre-approved. So Capital One has a pre-approval link. Navy Federal, if you have an account, you can go inside Navy Federal and do a pre-approval. Why you want to do this? Because you don't want to waste the inquiry. And they just go, no, no. And you got like 10 inquiries and everybody's saying no. So use pre-approvals because it's a soft inquiry. It will not land on your credit. And then you can get your answers for kind of, is it okay or not? Now, if you get like 3 no's from Discover and your bank and Capital One, then maybe you may go for a secured card, which those aren't always approved either. But that's a good way to start credit. Another tip on that is if you have a healthy credit person in your family who has a low card with not a lot of no late payments and has a low limit on it and has some age, they could add you as an authorized user. And that'll give you a little step up. So I did it with my daughter when I was helping her with her credit. I put her on my healthy card. That took her from a 5-something to a low 6. And then we used that low 6 to get her a card. And then I taught her how to use that card, and that got her in the 700s. So if you have somebody to leverage like that. Now, a lot of our clients are in our community, and I hear time and time again, I'm the one. I'm the bestest one. At a 580, I got the best credit. And so sometimes they can't leverage that. But if you can, definitely what I call an authorized user, what is called an authorized user, could help you as well.
Awesome. And so when we make these mistakes and we mess up, we hear it stays on your credit for a set amount of time. How long is that really? Like I've heard 7 years, I've heard 10 years, I've heard it never falls off and it's always there and it goes into the abyss. So is there a rhyme or a reason to how long that really is?
The flat answer is 7 years, but 7 years from when? And that would be a lot of time from the last activity, from the last time it was reported, from the last, report date for that particular account. In general, they've learned that we are playing the 7-year game, they being the collection agencies and creditors. So they're playing the game. Well, we're just going to move your stuff around and start over. So you can play the 7-year game and wait for things to fall off. But if you have goals, you need to address strategically what you're going to do about that debt. Okay. You don't want to be wanting to purchase a house and then find out at the last minute some $343 thing that you want to negotiate about, and you want to wait the 3 more years for it to fall off. Do you really want to wait 3 more years to purchase a house for $300 something worth of collections? So the blanket answer is 7 years, but there's so many stipulations around when that starts for this account, that account, this collection, and they're playing the game. They'll send it from ABC collection agency to XYZ collection agency, start the date over. They'll change it from $500 collection to $505, which makes it look new, and they'll start it over. Is all of this ethical? Probably not, but that's the game that's being played, and you need to know how you can strategize around that.
And is there a way to strategize around that?
Well, to holistically take care of your credit, everything else, because the negative items aren't the issue. So a lot of people are like, I've got these collections, I'm going to get them all off. My credit's going to be amazing. And that is not accurate. So you literally could find a magical way, if you could, to get everything off your credit and go from a 580 to 585, because that's not how healthy credit is built.
Wow. So paying off things that are negative, we're talking about that. Does that help or hurt? Or what is the solution to that? I know you need to pay it, but some will say that when you start doing that, it becomes negative. And then some will say when you do it, it's a good thing. So,
and the answer is yes.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay. What's the solution? It's what the strategy. So how are you strategizing it? So here at Cure My Credit Scores, we're saying the first thing the coach is going to ask is how much by when. You want to buy a house by Friday? You want a Maserati by Thursday? Like, what are you doing? Because the feedback is different. And then we'll get into what type of capital you have. If you have capital to pay everything and everybody before we get off the phone, then we'll say strategize it like this. But most people are not in that predicament. So if they have to strategize how they apply their capital, because they're like I did, I didn't have the money to do everything all at once. I had to go like, what's going to get me the biggest bang for my buck? My coach told me that. I did that, which was to pay my cards down. Okay, bam, I got my cards down. And they're disputing my negative items to see if they're accurate or reported in a timely manner or making sure they're mine. So all that's going around in the background while I'm paying it down. So paid everything down. Step 2, now let's look at these collections and see how to prioritize those. They're not all created equal. Some of them are more impactful in your credit and do more damage than others. So why pay the lower ones first if you have to strategize your capital? So that type of thing. Also, folks who are, we asked about the vision. To meet the first goal, let's just say to purchase a home, we're going to consult your lender, because your lender may say, you don't need to pay, like Rhonda might say, you ain't got to pay all this in order to get the home. So in order to get you to the home, we don't need you to do this for your credit to pay it right now. In order to get the home, Rhonda doesn't need you to pay it to qualify for the home. But after that, you're like, I just want amazing credit. I don't want nobody calling me no more. Let's strategize it then. And not use the capital for a down payment or for some other strategic things in your life when it's not the right time. Strategy.
All about strategy. That's what it sounds like. Strategy seems to be the answer here.
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to go into a strategy that some use: bankruptcy.
Woo.
Bankruptcy, good or
bankruptcy.
Bad?
No judgment. Judgment. It's a judgment-free zone. Bankruptcies, I think everything is just this. It's education. So I love that you're doing this, because bankruptcies have helped folks. And I've seen people with bankruptcies working on their credit, and they're in the mid 600s. They're doing well. However, they can't go purchase a home for another 2-3 years, depending on what type they have, right? So if you're trying to get a good restart and you don't have any immediate goals where that bankruptcy would be an impediment, it may be a good viable resource for you if you don't have anything else. It's just to do it, clean it all up and start over. Now I have seen people with 2 or 3 or 4 of them. They just keep doing it. And I think that's a bit much. This is my personal opinion because I don't know, I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer. But
Right.
just for the things that you want, I'd rather give you the education to not be there. Or like you had the financial person on to help with the budget. Like, let's get ahead of needing those type of things, but they are there. There's, wage earner where you can, be paying for it as you work. And then there's a chapter, which is a 13, and then there's a chapter 7 and a chapter 11. So in general, if you can avoid it, I would say try to, but if you really need it, you still can recover for healthy credit if you have a bankruptcy. Don't feel like it's the end of the world.
Okay. And so you talked about credit cards before, and so we're going to go back to that conversation. Is there a credit card that's better than another, or because everybody has some type of credit card. You can get the credit card that has $100 limit, or you can get the credit card that has $10,000 limits. But
Mhm.
is there a credit card that is better, or one that you should just absolutely stay away from? Just don't
Mhm.
even go get the ostrich and the bird credit card, because the interest is going to be 49.6 and it's never going to help you. Or is that just something on the, as a strategy that you may need?
Mm. Okay, that's a good question. I was going to say it's loaded, but let's start with, once again, we are talking about credit. So as you are building and developing credit, you are going to need a credit card. And you want the credit card to report healthily. You want it to report to all 3 bureaus, and you want it to report utilization in that pie. And cards like Chime do not report utilization. You put 500 on it, it puts it on your credit. You use the 500, it goes up and down, but the limit line says 0 because the limit is what you put on it. So that is not a good holistically healthy way to build credit. It ain't gonna hurt nothing, but it surely isn't as healthy as it can get.
Okay.
And then there's you're not even, if your credit is challenged, you're not looking at higher level cards. So I like to
Right.
say that too, because people are trying to apply for Chase and Amex, and they don't do starter credit. So that's not where you go to develop credit when you're in the 500s. You're not having that conversation yet. You can get there, but that's not where you're getting started. So although those are better cards with better rates, that's what you're working for down here. So I tell people in the 400s that are getting credit and starting over, they're like, well, I can't do this. And customer service, like I said, just hold tight. We're getting there. We're getting there. But people are taking a risk on you because your credit score says you're risky. You got to be patient for them even giving you it. They may have like fees up in the front. So even before you use the card, you owe it $75. They want their money immediately. So am I saying avoid those? Not necessarily if you're trying to build credit. Now, if you already got credit and you're in the like 680s and you can qualify for a Capital One, potentially a Discover card, these are better cards. Work your way up to getting a Navy Federal card or some type of credit union with your credit union, and you're trying to get like a First Progress credit builder card. That's not a good financial move with the high interest rates and the fees and all that other kind of stuff. So I would say start where you are, and then work your way up to more advantageous cards. But the biggest thing, people always say, well, I don't want these high interest rates. High interest rates only go on balances. So if you don't have high balances, you don't have high interest rates. And the whole game is to keep your balance low. And if you have a $500 card with $50 on it, the interest is not going to kill you. I don't care if it is 26%. So you already are saying in your mind, I'm about to go ham and I'm going to be paying all this interest and I hate it. No, just don't do that in the first place.
Got it. So checking your credit score, like, we had the Credit Karmas and the Credit Sesame, and I know people who check their credit score every hour on the hour. Does it help checking your credit score like that? Does it hurt? Does it do anything? Or is it just a waste of time to check for
Yeah.
every hour on the hour?
I think it's a satiating experience to check it like Instagram. Like, let me check my credit score. Something's happening. Let me check it on Credit Karma and then on Experian and then on yada, yada, yada. And real talk, you need to pick one and gauge your progress or your detriment on one app. Okay, just on one. Credit Karma is fine. if you're going to choose that and stick with it. But it only has 2 bureaus. So it has TransUnion and Equifax. It doesn't have Experian. So you're not really seeing the whole pie. But what I like Credit Karma for is because you can see I'll say the word I'm thinking, maybe the minutia in there, the mess. You can see inquiries popping up immediately, like every 7 days, every 3 days or whatever. You can see somebody, if your balances are going high or if negative things are showing up. So I like it for that informative information. But for your credit scores, stay away from Credit Karma for most of the things you want to do in your life, because it is a Vantage scoring model, which is different from a FICO scoring model, which you find on MyScoreIQ, MyFICO, and I think Experian and some of those other people have FICO scores. And that's what most of the stuff you want to buy, that's the formula that they're using. So you getting all good feeling on your Credit Karma, your Credit Wise, and your Credit Sesame, and your Identity IQ, and you're like, I'm amazing with these credit numbers. And then you go buy a car, and you're like, what the what? What is this foolishness? Your home lender side eye, and you like, you thought you was cute, but no, that lipstick don't go, Corinne. So yeah, so it's a hot mess. So I would use the more stringent formula, which is FICO. It's looking at small print. I would use that and have a lesser score there and feel more confident about walking in to different establishments if you can rock that out versus the feel good of Credit Karma. And you do not need to check it all the time. Make sure nobody's stealing your credit. I had a twin sister. Her sister's credit was on her credit. I'm laughing because her sister's credit was better than hers, so we really wanted to stay on there, but that's not how that works. I've had people with their dad's credit on there, so it'll say, I was born in 1972, so it'll say 1972, 1972, 1950 something. Like their parents' credit is on their credit. So you just need to make sure that you get alerts and you know what's going on, so nothing funky pops up, so that when you do need it, you're like, where did this foolishness come from? And you can nip it in the bud. I had a client the other day, somebody applied for an Ulta card. Because she's on it, she nipped it in the bud. They took it off immediately. Not when it goes to collections and you're like, that wasn't mine. Right. Pay attention for that reason mostly. But rocking, babysitting those scores. Matter of fact, for 2 months when I was in my program, I didn't even look at my scores because it was annoying. They're not going to change like that. It's not enough action going on.
So you hit on something talking about disputes. Like when you do see something that's wrong, do you dispute it with Experian? How do you start the dispute process?
You dispute it where you see it. So all credit errors or infractions or applications, like if somebody does apply for a Macy's card in your name, it won't necessarily show up in all bureaus. So because I'm healthy and I'm monitoring, I'm responsible, I saw it in all bureaus or in 2, and I go there and dispute with those particular bureaus that's not mine. So wherever you see it, that's where you dispute it, which is why you don't want to use Credit Karma, because you're only going to get 2 levels of feedback.
And so disputing it, so is it wise to just go and dispute everything, whether it's yours or not? No, you don't.
No. You want your good credit. No, that's a good question. So you want your good credit on there. So you don't want to play with that. There is a thing called a credit sweep. And people have asked me, do we do it? And absolutely not. Because some credit repair companies I've heard do it. And a credit sweep is actually, you've got an 800 credit score and somebody did do a fraud on you and apply for some plumbing and, some Washington Gas or whatever and didn't pay it. And it went to collections. And you go about to buy a house. This is a real story, actually. She about to buy a house and somebody out in Washington State, she lives here, put some utilities in her name. She didn't know until she's about to buy a house. So since she has a real issue, she does a police report. They take everything negative off her credit, let her scores go back up what they're supposed to be, do an investigation. If the investigation is valid, she stays where she's supposed to be with this fraud. If it's not valid, boom, boom, boom. Plus, you get a flag on your credit because you was acting up. Then you come to us and you're like, help me with my credit after you just frauded everything. And it's hard because there's a flag. Now it's legitimately hard to dispute the things that probably were actually an issue. So if I could say nothing else to people who want to do better, is to do your work. It's a better foundation to build back upon when you do your actual work. The other thing is you can dispute on your own. So don't let any credit repair company tell you need to use them. You can dispute on your own. The detriment to that is you can only dispute once online. You keep doing it, they're going to disregard your previous dispute, or they'll say it's frivolous. So we online. Now, if you want to do it, on paper, that's fine. That's what we do. We write letters and we use the Fair Credit Reporting Act to say, tell us it's valid. And letters come back and they say, nope, it's not valid. They take it off. Or they say, no, it is valid. Okay, so then we write another letter with a different part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And they're like, oh, no, that one works. And we keep doing that until we get off as much as possible. But when you go to and that's a person to person, a person has to read that, it has to assess it. If you go online, that's a computer talking to a computer. That's a little tip. Did I explain that well?
You did. Good job. So let's talk about student loans, because student loans are a big thing, and they're a big thing, and everybody's looking for student loan forgiveness because it's a big thing. So how we're going to talk specifically about home ownership and buying a house in student loans, because I know there are so many concerns about having a student loan and trying to buy a house. Can it exist? Can they exist in the same place?
So we're going to split it in half. There's the credit part of student loans, and then there's the lending part that refers to Rhonda and being a lender and trying to get qualified for a home. But you got to get your credit up to get over there to the lender. So credit-wise, what matters most is that your loans are current, they're not in default, and that they're not late. And so if you come here and you got them in default, we're going to help you find the means to rehabilitate your loans. And please just tell the truth and go get them rehabilitated. It's people, I've seen rehabilitation programs cost $5 to $25 for 6 to 9 months. And people are running and digging their head in the sand, not knowing how easy the solutions can be and what they offer, because they think it's something terrible. And you do $5 to $25 for 6 to 9 months. And then they get you a new provider and they start over, they bring everything current. And you get this, like say you had Sallie Mae and then now you have Navient or whatever. And then you can get an income-based repayment program, because now we're fresh, we're up to date. And we've proven that we can make those payments for that amount of time. And then you can ask for an income-based repayment program, which means you might have $500 a month worth of loans, and they can bring you down to $170 or something. You can't do none of that negotiating when it's in collections or when it's late or whatever. So do your work. I've been saying that the whole time. Do your work. So that's the credit piece. On time or rehabilitated or in deferment because you're in school, or in forbearance because the government says so, yada, yada, yada. Now on the lending side, I'm nobody's lender, but I talk to them all day, every day. And on the lending side, what people think they can't get a house is because of the debt to income ratio, which I'm sure Rhonda talked about, is now that I've got my credit straight with my student loan, how much are you going to count towards how much house I can afford? That's the bigger issue. I had a client who had $230,000 worth of student loans. At the time, they were counting 1%. So that's $2,300 off the break against her income before we can decide, can she qualify for a house? And for her income, she couldn't. So we were trying to figure out how to get that. She did eventually figure out how to get it down with a program. She was working for the government. 2 separate conversations. Right. Healthy credit student loans, bam, come over here and see, can you actually qualify for the programs you want to be financed based on how much the loan is. Awesome. But the bottom line is, like, don't avoid them. Like, these people just like, oh, I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna wait to buy. And look what happened. They waiting for Biden to approve. And then if you have student loans, I stay on the site just for my daughter. I'm 51. My student loans are gone. And I was in the military. So my daughter, I stay on the site for her to see what's current, what's going on. They put those applications on pause for the forgiveness. So you resting your whole laurels on it's going away. The forgiveness piece was for some people only $10,000 without a Pell Grant and 20 with. You got $100,000. The bottom line, you can't play none of these games if you're not paying. I have people say, well, I'm not going to pay until they forgive it. Now, I just had a friend get $300,000 worth of student loans forgiven, but guess what? They were in good standing. They had paid them on time for 10 years. They could participate in the grace. I love grace.
Got it. In the
You
grace.
can participate in the grace, but don't be looking at God for no grace, and you don't want to get up people to $80 a month that you went to school and partied off of. I don't want to hear that. I went to Hampton. I know what y'all was doing. I know what I was doing my student loan money.
I went to Hampton too. Look at there. How great is that?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I absolutely thank you for your time. And as we end all of these, the one thing I ask is if there is anything that you could tell someone who's listening, something that they can walk away with, something that they can give to the next generation, something that's very important, something that's burning in your spirit that you just want to let the world know this is your time to let the world know whatever that thing is.
For sure. Just give it to the babies. Okay. So I talked earlier about authorized users, and there is a systematic thing that I see a lot in 4 years of dealing with hundreds of clients where I've cried. I got 3 kids, 26, 22, 10, all girls, and you want to give them your best and you want to pass on something. And I've seen people here, 24 years old, my baby's age, passed on with their parent, no judgment, opened up, phones and electric bills. They did what they had to do, right? And it was a detriment to the child, and the child started off back here. Really sad. There's an opportunity with education to start them off ahead with credit. And you can add your children to your cards, as I have done, your healthy credit, and give them that time as a gift. And one of my lenders is younger. Her father did that for her. And she came out the gate applying for her first credit card with a 720 credit score, because her father had put her on his healthy credit and gave her a heads up. She didn't even know. So between that and educating them, send all your kids to me, no cost. I'll do another of these just for babies. You want to bring the babies in the office because they need to know. I'm teaching my daughter, my 10-year-old now, that information. It's more important than anything I could say. It's just, I really want to work myself out of a job and get this information in schools and universities, take it to Hampton somewhere where people know, because I was at Hampton and they handed me that $250 credit card day one with no job and no instructions. Yeah. And it took me 10 years to pay it off. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. That gets to happen to nobody else, not on my watch. So that's the biggest thing. Educate your folks. And if you don't know, go ask somebody, call me. You don't need to work with us. You don't need to sign up or nothing. I just need you to know how this works and how it keeps changing. So thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. So you heard it right here. If you have any credit questions, any credit conversations that you need to have, you can call Miss Corinne Hamilton, a Hamptonian, so we know she's good. Make sure that you are using the resources that are provided for you. Why Not Inc. is here to serve. So we are trying to make sure that you are able to have everything at your fingertips. Please, if you are watching this, please like and share. Please like and share, and make sure that you let somebody know the conversations that we had in April for our financially lit, because we want to live in transparency. So I thank all of you for visiting us. We will be back at this in May. Not sure what our May topics are going to be yet, but stay tuned because we'll be coming soon. We are having a Mommy and Me tea party. So if you don't follow us yet, make sure you follow us at Why Not Inc. or visit us on our website, www.whynotinc.org. Everyone have a good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.